I'm talking about slow reading and fast reading. Fast reading will be maybe even harder than slow reading because what we try to do with fast reading is simply push ahead even if we don't understand something, because after all, we're giving ourselves second chances and third chances. So the idea is just to push ahead when we do fast reading. When we do slow reading, in a way, that's when it gets really interesting. And I assure you, once we get the hang of it, slow reading will be easier than fast reading. And I'm inspired here by the words of Friedrich Nietzsche. He wrote this amazing essay called Daybreak. And I'll just read to you how Nietzsche describes slow reading. And for Nietzsche, slow reading is the essence of reading the beautiful texts that come down from the ancient Greek and Roman worlds. And he'll use the word philology, in German philologie, which is literally a love for the words of language. And people in my field like to use it to describe their own profession of what it is to read ancient Greek texts and read them slowly and carefully. So let me just read the words of Nietzsche in the translation of Hollingdale. Philology is that venerable art which demands of its votaries one thing above all: to go aside, to take time, to become still, to become slow. It is a goldsmith's art and connoisseurship of the word, which has nothing but delicate, cautious work to do, and achieves nothing if it does not achieve it lento, slowly. But for precisely this reason, it is more necessary than ever today. By precisely this means does it entice and enchant us the most in the midst of an age of work, that is to say, of hurry, of indecent and perspiring haste, which wants to get everything done at once, including every old or new book. This art does not easily get anything done. It teaches to read well, that is to say, to read slowly, deeply, looking cautiously before and aft, with reservations, with doors left open, with delicate fingers and eyes. And the one place where I changed the translation of Hollingdale is toward the end, where in Hollingdale's translation, the English text says, with delicate eyes and fingers. But in the original German, fingers comes first, eyes come second. So it's mit zarten Fingern und Augen lesen. And the reason I like to keep the word order of the original German is that Nietzsche has just finished comparing the art of reading slowly, which is philology, to a goldsmith's art. Well, a goldsmith works with the fingers, and the way you read is being compared here to the way you touch delicate and precious things that should be treasured. And reading is a matter of contact, of touching, making contact, getting in touch with the thoughts and feelings of the ancient world. So that's what I'm saying to you, is that slow reading will actually be an easier and more natural experience than fast reading, which is what we're so used to. Still, because most of us are unfamiliar with the culture, with the literature, and we're starting from scratch, it's very important also to get a rough familiarity by reading fast. And when I say read it fast, I will be giving you aids where I'll actually show you plot summaries of my own and technically, how fast you read doesn't even matter to me. I just want you to be familiar with what's happening, for you not to feel afraid of starting to read slowly in the hours that come after hour one. Let me talk about the first 8 hours of our 24-hour sequence. The first 8 hours, more or less, involve the entire Homeric Iliad. And for many of us, this is the first time we've been exposed to Homeric poetry in translation. This is the first time we're really getting familiar with what ancient Greek song culture is. And it's very, very discouraging sometimes. I'll give you a good example of a place where many of my students felt so discouraged that they just wanted to stop right there, and that is the so-called Catalogue of Ships, which happens in Rhapsody 2 of the Iliad, Book 2 of the Iliad. It doesn't really matter to us that much how many people came from what city or what village in order to fight at Troy, but could I say that in, let's say, the 5th century BCE, people who were listening to the Iliad in public performance of the Iliad would care a lot, because in the Catalogue of Ships, the people who are technically the ancestors of the people of the present in the 5th century are listening to what was happening to their prototypes. So it matters a great deal. Let me give an analogy for what I'm advocating, which is just getting through a fast reading so you get your bearings. I'm thinking of my first experience with the films of Akira Kurosawa, especially his films about the glory days of samurai war culture. And when I first started watching these films, I was so discouraged because I really couldn't tell the characters apart. I didn't understand the historical context. Of course, I didn't understand the language, and I had to deal with subtitles, just as we have to deal with translations in our reading experience. So I was really at point zero. But what amazed me was, as I was starting to watch the plot of a film that was less than 2 hours usually, I started focusing on some people and started not focusing on other people, other characters. And I started highlighting some details in my mind and shading over other details. And if you want to try this yourself with a Kurosawa film, especially if you have never tried this before, you'll see that by the time you get to the end of the film, you really know who's the most important character. You know what is at stake. You even know or have a feeling about what's about to happen. And it's all because you were patient enough to get acclimatized in your, may I put it this way, fast reading of the film by just forcing yourself to keep watching. And I would guarantee that in about 45 minutes into a Kurosawa film, you've got the background already. You don't need to go to Google and find out who are these characters and what is the historical context, what's the date. You've got a very good handle on what's going on, and you'll leave the experience wanting to come back. And I go back again and again to Kurosawa films, and then I love to replay various scenes and then just marvel at the intricacy and the complexity, but also the simplicity of the message. Just because something is beautifully constructed and we call it complex or intricate doesn't mean that it can't have a very basic human message that will last us forever. And that's my impression with Kurosawa films. And I'm hoping that you will communicate with me about other such experiences you had so that I can keep figuring out other ways to encourage people not to give up when they're doing their fast reading of the Iliad. If you can just get through that fast reading, however you do it, you will really get the richest experience when you start doing the slow readings. Here I am at my age. There's still some things that I haven't read carefully in the Homeric Iliad and Odyssey. It's, after all, the product of over 2,000, maybe 3,000 years of the most highly refined performer-audience interaction. It's one of the most beautiful, perfected systems of communication that we can find in the history of civilization. So for heaven's sake, let's not beat up on ourselves if we don't understand something in the Homeric Iliad or the Homeric Odyssey. There'll be plenty of that, including for me. But the rewards of the experience of reading slowly will just keep on coming. It's a gift that really, seriously, keeps on giving.